Hey fellow backyard boyers, Nick here. Today I've got another knife from GearBest.com to review. They sent this knife to me, so today we're going to be unboxing it and taking a look at it. Now, first thing I noticed is that this is a really cool looking box. I mean, as far as boxes go, this is pretty well thought out. Now, I mentioned in my last video that the package this was sent in with the other knives had been searched, and so there are some things missing. There's a pretty big piece of this missing, and I'll show that to you in a little bit. But on the front of the box you can see this is the knife that's in here. It's called the Tiger Sharks. It's titanium coated, and they say it's D2, so that'll be really interesting to check out. So here on the back of the box, it has a rundown of some of the features of the knife and some of the things that come with it. And I think it's really interesting that this knife actually comes with a wrench, so you can take the handle scales off. It also comes with some paracord, so you can actually do a paracord wrap on this knife. Now, when I was looking at this, one thing that I was really interested in trying out was the Ferro Rod. You see it comes with a Ferro Rod, looks like it has a mini compass and a whistle on it. It's got a nice sheath for it, right on the main sheath. And another feature about the sheath that we'll see when I open it up is that it's actually got what appears to be a diamond stone built in. It also comes in a neat little pouch. So, without further ado, let's open it up. And here we have the website for the company that makes this knife. Now, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think this is a knockoff of anything, though if you guys do know if this is a knockoff or a clone of some other knife, please let me know in the comments below. There we go. So here we have that nice pouch, so you can attach this to your pack, your belt, your whatever. It's kind of neat. Alright. So here it is. Here's everything just sort of stuck in here. And here we have the paracord that I was talking about. And it comes with the wrench, so you can actually take the handle scales off. And you've got some paracord so you can wrap it. So that's kind of neat. It's an interesting idea that they included that as a main feature of the knife. And here's some oil. I'm assuming this is to go with the sharpening stone on the sheath, sort of like a light honing oil. And here's a nice little cleaning cloth with their logo on it. Now let's take this out. And this is a really neat pouch. I can actually see it being useful for a lot of different things. Even if I didn't want to carry the knife in it, it's still a really neat little pouch. I think I could probably fit a set of takedown arrows in there. Alright. Onto the knife. Alright, so here's the knife. The first thing I noticed when I opened it up is that the ferro rod is missing. Now, that's a real disappointment. So this is right here on the sheath, but there is no ferro rod. And that's just one of the risks that you take when you order something from another country. Now, they sent this to me, but I imagine if something like this happened, if you had insurance on your order, they would make it right. Though I'm not entirely sure. I have ordered some things from GearBest, and I'll see how their customer service is firsthand. But for right now, they sent this to me, so I'm not really sure how they would resolve this normally. And if you guys have ever had any experience with them and you'd like to let everybody else know how they are in the comments, that would be really helpful. So here's the sheath. It's an interesting design. Again, they really went with the idea of webbing and Velcro. It's got a lot of Velcro. It kind of reminds me of the tracker knife, the way the sheath is set up, because it looks like you could go for a variety of different carry options if you manipulated all of these different straps the right way. So here we go. So here's the knife. And the sheath is really interesting. It's got a lot of features. Like I said, the ferro rod's missing. But it's got this here, which, like I said before, appears to be a diamond stone. It's pretty coarse. It's really coarse. And you could probably use this to grind something. Not just sharpen a knife, but actually ground tools and implements using it. But overall, it's a neat little sheath. I like the way it's put together. And the knife fits well in here. Now, there isn't really a positive lock or positive retention, which is probably why they added this strap. But overall, nice little sheath. So here's the knife. And one of the first things I noticed is that these handle scales are actually done really well. You can see there's a bit of a palm swell to it. The finger grip is a little strange. The placement is kind of weird, but it does feel good. It does feel pretty solid. Now, I will say that from a design standpoint, having these two holes right here in one of the highest stress points of the knife, and there's not a lot of taper at all in this knife, so you're going from full thickness to having just these three little bridges of steel basically holding everything together. And there's no bolster here or anything, so it's kind of an interesting way to put lightning holes in a knife. I don't know if I really agree with that, but I don't see it really being a problem. Maybe if you use this to pry, it might be an issue, but just looking at it, everything else looks pretty good, so I'd say they can get away with it. But that is something personally that I think is kind of strange. Now, onto the knife itself. What I noticed is that it's got another grind here. So it's got this primary bevel on one side, and then here, and then it's got a slightly, I don't know if I want to call it steeper, but it's a sharpened on one side bevel, just a little steeper than the other, not a lot, kind of like the tracker knife. And on their box art, I guess the idea behind this is that you can use this for fine work or for scraping, but it's interesting. It would be interesting to sharpen because you can see the bevel actually changes once you get to over here, because then you're sharpening from this side. And once you sharpen a couple of times, I'm not sure if this sort of profile would change at all. Now, they call it a tactical dive knife. And when I first saw that, I thought, oh, tactical dive knife, that's kind of funny. And then I was like, well, you know, as far as dive knives go, it's a little on the big side. I usually prefer a slightly smaller knife, but not by much. And, you know, if I hadn't used a knife that had these back serrations, I'd probably say it was a bit much and kind of weird to have these serrations on it. So on that note, I wanted to show you guys my dive knife. I've had this for about 11 years now, and this thing has actually saved my life. You know, when I got this, and this is titanium, it's very light. I mean, this thing's got a lot of heft to it. It's really heavy. This is a really nice light knife, and the reason why I said it saved my life is once when I was diving, I actually got entangled in some line, and I was able to easily cut it with this. And I felt like, you know, when I started cutting with this side, it just wasn't cutting through the line as quickly as I would have liked. And I'll admit, I did panic a little, so really helped me out. And I think it's interesting that it's got similar serrations. They're not the same. The placement's a little different, but you know, I like that. It's got enough tooth to it where it'll saw through things, but you know, it's just all sharp edges, and it's not going to really get hung up on anything. So overall, I think this is a nice little knife. Again, it says that it's made of D2, so D2 tool steel, I'm assuming, I'm hoping, which is an interesting idea for a, what they're calling a dive knife, because while D2 does have a lot of corrosion resistance, it's still not a true stainless steel. So I could see this knife, even with the titanium coating, I could see it still getting pretty badly rusted if you didn't take care of it, which is kind of nice that they allow you to take these scales off, because if I were to use this as a dive knife, you know, once I get back to shore, I'd probably pop the scales off, hose everything down, and then dry it off. So it's nice that they give you the option to take these off, because I could see underneath the scales being a place for rust to collect and develop and just sort of corrode your knife away from the inside out. But all in all, I think it's an interesting knife. It's got a good feel. It's very heavy. I've noticed that these two knives, these last two knives that they sent, are very, very heavy. The handle scales look, they appear to be, the handle scales appear to be G10. I'm not entirely sure. It's got an interesting texture to it. It gives a nice, secure grip. This right here, almost like a choil, but not really. It's just a touch small for my finger, but overall it feels good. So I'm excited to try this out. So I'll let you know how this does. If you have any suggestions for things you'd like to see me do to test this knife, or things you'd like to see me do with this knife. I'm not sure if I want to do any destruction tests with it, because like I said, I'm pretty sure this is a weak point, and a knife like this, for me, I wouldn't use it for anything heavy duty anyway. It would be for lighter tasks, and it's, you know, a little longer than I usually like in a knife, but it's not really that long. I believe the actual sharpened portion is only about 4 inches, so it's a good all-around knife. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.